All right, we're in our 8.4 through 8.8 test review. The first question is finding slope, and this is one that you guys just did. What is the formula for finding slope? What's my formula? What is it?
y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1.
Very good. All right, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I make my substitutions, and we got to watch out for our double negative down in the bottom. Did y'all catch that? Okay, so negative 6 plus 4. So you get 2 over negative 2, which is 2 over negative 1, reduces to negative 1. And remember, it's our rise that's negative, never our run. Okay? All right, so finding slope, that's our first section. In the second section, I just need you to identify the slope and the y-intercept. So it gives you an equation, y equals 2/5 x minus 8. Identify the slope and y-intercept. That means using the correct variables that go with these terms. Don't say slope equals, okay? Use the variable that stands for slope. All right, so the variable for slope is what? M equals 2/5, and B equals negative 8, okay? Who got those right? M and B? Okay, very good. That section should be easy. All right, next section. Now I'm going to tell you the slope and y-intercept, and you have to write the linear equation that goes with it. All right, so slope is 4/3, y-intercept is negative 3. Put those into the equation and write the linear equation. Okay, so the equation should be y equals mx plus b. So y equals 4/3 x minus 3. Who got that right? 4/3 x minus 3. All right, still doing good. Now what if I gave you two ordered pairs and I said write the equation from the ordered pairs? All right, so write the equation from these ordered pairs, 0, 6, and 5, 5. Write the linear equation that passes through these points. Slope, we do 5 minus 6 over 5 minus 0, negative 1/5. And then our ordered pairs tell us what the slope is. Which ordered pair do I look to? The first one or the second one? The first one that has the 0x value. The other number is my y-intercept. So negative 1/5 x plus 6. Plus 6. Okay. Yes, that's technically not a linear equation without the x. So on the quiz, it would be wrong. On the test, it would be partial credit. Okay? All right, so writing linear equations. Now we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about parallel and perpendicular lines. This is 2 questions on your quiz and 4 questions on your test. So it's actually a pretty decent chunk of your test. Y equals 1/3 x plus 4. Here's what the instructions will say. Write the equation of a parallel line that passes through point 0, negative 5. So there's things that I know about lines that are parallel that will help me write my equation. And then you also need to know that the parallel line will pass through point 0, negative 5. Know about the slopes of parallel lines. What do I know about slopes of parallel lines? That they're the same. So on one equation, if it's 1/3, on the other equation, it's going to be 1/3 x also. But instead of it passing the y-axis at 4, where does it pass the y-axis? At negative 5. Okay, so 1/3 x minus 5. Who got that right? Okay, so that's parallel. Now we're going to do perpendicular. Again, there's things that I know about perpendicular slopes that will help me write my other equation. All right, so I have y equals negative 3/4 x minus 6. Write the equation of the perpendicular line that passes through point 0, 5. What do I know about perpendicular slopes, guys? What do I know? It's the negative reciprocal, right? So instead of it being negative, now it's positive 4/3 x. But instead of it crossing through negative 6, where does it cross now? Through positive 5. Okay, who got that one right? 4/3 x, positive 4/3 x plus 5. Right, if you got it wrong, do you have any questions? Anything? Anything? All right, now we're going to do some of the function notation. This is what we learned on Wednesday in section 8.7. Let's say we have this equation, h of x equals 3x plus 7, okay? So there's my function. Now I have two scenarios, okay? So I explained this in my last class. I still had some kids confused. You're going to make your substitution here and come up with an answer. You're going to make your substitution here and come up with a different answer. They're not together. Do you understand that? You don't plug them both in at the same time. I have people trying to do that. So solve one, get your answer, then do a separate problem where you plug in that value and get your answer. H of x, here's what I need you to remember. H of x is one term. That's together. It's one term. All right? And then, so h of x equals 28. All right? So I plug in 28 for h of x. That's fine. 28 goes in for h of x. That's the only time I substitute on that side of the equation. Okay. All right, so we make that substitution in for h of x. 28 equals 3x plus 7. You see that now? Okay, and now I just solve the equation. How do I solve for x?
Minus 7.
Subtract 7 from both sides, divide by 3, x equals 7. 21 divided by 3 is 7. All right, now in a separate problem, where would the negative 4 plug in? Would it go in for the first x or for the second x? It's for the second x based on what I just said. It has to say the full h of x equals some value to go in for that one. This one is just partial. It goes in for the second x. H of x equals 3 times negative 4 plus 7. Negative 12 plus 7 is negative 5. Negative 5. All right. Okay, so function notation, making our substitutions. Then the other thing we learned in this section was writing a linear function that satisfies the given conditions. All right, writing a linear function that satisfies the given conditions. So we need to make sure that we're writing our answer as a function. And we also need to figure out slope and y-intercept somehow from this information. All right, so try to do that on your papers. All right, so we need ordered pairs. Can we pull out ordered pairs from the statement? Yeah, 4, yeah, there we go. 4, negative 6, and 0, 5. So now that you have this refresher on this very simple concept. All right, guys, shh. Okay, go ahead and write your linear function. All right, so 5 minus negative 6 is positive 11. 0 minus 4 is negative 4, but remember our run is never negative, so we just bump that negative up into our rise. Negative 11 over 4, and what is my y-intercept? 5. So what is my answer? I need to write my linear function. What is my answer, Julia?
G equals negative 11 over 4 plus 5.
Okay, now g of x, very good. It's g of x equals negative 11 fourths x plus 5. All right, so how many of you wrote y equals? That's a really common mistake. You're going to get it wrong on your quiz, though, if you do that, because that's a linear equation, not a linear function. On your test, you would get half credit. But for full credit, you've got to write it as a function. Okay, so writing the linear function. Now we need to discuss some of our graphing. All right, so graphing is going to be on your quiz and your test. There's actually quite a bit of graphing. So if you know how to graph a linear equation or a linear function, you know how to do the other one as well. Graphing a function or graphing an equation is basically the same exact thing. So what I need you to do is get out a sheet of graph paper, number your graph, and graph this function. Where does my first point go?
Negative.
Down to negative 3. Very good. And from that point, where do I go?
Down to negative 3.
down 1 over 3, and then just try your best to draw a straight line through the points. I know it's kind of tough. Okay. Okay. All right, any questions? Any questions? Technically, the arrows are going in both directions. All right, but that's going to be a negative slope. All right, so the next one, we're going to graph the linear system. So it says solve the linear system by graphing. All right, so we have y equals negative 2x plus 5 and y equals 4x minus 1. So we plot these points. There's going to be 4 points total. Draw the lines and see where they intersect. The ordered pair where they intersect is our solution. Where does my very first point go? No, up to 5. All right, then where do I go? Down 2 over 1. Then where does my next point go? Negative 1. Where do I go from there? Up 4 over 1. So it's actually going to be on the exact same point again. Draw my lines. And what is the solution? What ordered pair is the solution? 1, 3. All right, who got it right? 1, 3. 1, 3. Okay, last question. Are these equations parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Okay, so this is not a question on your quiz, but it is a question on your test. Are these equations parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Well, you can't really tell right now. What do you need to do to the equations? You need to write them in both in function form or slope-intercept form. Then you'll be able to tell. So I need to see them both in slope-intercept form, and then you would say parallel, perpendicular, or neither, and box that in as your answer. Getting them in slope-intercept, subtract 2x. 5y equals negative 2x minus 10. Divide by 5, y equals negative 2/5 x minus 2. Well, the other one is not going to be anywhere close to that. It's just y equals negative x minus 2. So I say neither. Neither. Did y'all say neither or neither?
I say neither.
Yeah, I've heard some people say neither. Anyway, that doesn't matter. All right, if you understand that, that's everything you need to know for your tests over 8.4 through 8.8.